Tuesday, April 12, the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees. Question. Read Matthew chapter 5 and verse 20. What does Jesus mean when he says that unless our righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, we cannot enter the kingdom of heaven? Though salvation has always been by faith, and though Judaism, as it should have been practiced, was always a system of grace, legalism did creep in, as it can in any religion that takes obedience seriously, such as Seventh-day Adventism. At the time of Christ, many, but not all of the religious leaders had fallen into a kind of hard religious orthodoxy, destitute of contrition, tenderness, or love, Ellen White writes in Thoughts from the Mount of Blessing, that left them with no power to preserve the world from corruption, and that was page 53. Mere outward forms, especially those that are man-made, have no power to change lives or transform character. The only true faith is that which works by love, as we read in Galatians chapter 5 and verse 6. That alone is what makes outward actions acceptable in the sight of God. Question. Read Micah chapter 6, verses 6 through to 8. In what ways is this a summary of the Sermon on the Mount? Even in Old Testament times, the sacrifices were not an end in themselves, but a means to an end, and that end was a life in which followers of God reflect the love and character of God, something that could be done only through a complete surrender to God and a realization of our utter dependence on His saving grace. Despite all their outward appearances of piety and faith, many of the scribes and Pharisees were definitely not a model of how a follower of the Lord should live. So to finish today, even if you are a great believer in salvation by faith alone, and that only Jesus' righteousness can save you, how can you be sure that even subtle forms of legalism don't creep in?